Well, it's 10 a.m., at least on the East Coast, wherever it is your time, maybe earlier, maybe later. Welcome. Um, yeah, we're all gonna do some introductions and I'm gonna do some introductions, and I'm just gonna start with setting the space a little bit. I think folks are probably familiar with Zoom as much as they can be at this point, right? Many of us have been on Zoom. The etiquette with Zoom is to keep yourself muted until or unless you want to speak. And we are a group of about 13 folks, which is a perfect number for the journey that we're on. And some people I know, Denise is new to Zoom. We'll just help each other out if we need to. So I have set up a ceremonial space by my computer, and I wanted to show you this beautiful candle that my friend Anne made me. Can you all see this? It's a beeswax skull. Isn't that awesome? It's solid beeswax. It's so beautiful, and I'm gonna light it now for this class as we sit together. I have my little altar next to my computer. I have some rose petals. I have some flowers. Yeah, so I invite you to do the same. We're going to practice slowing the nervous systems down a little bit in this class, which helps us integrate. And this is sort of a brave and creative journey that we're on together. We're here just by way of a little prayer. We're here breathing the same air, living on the same earth. We're all alive at this moment. And this workshop gives us a chance to engage and expand and open our hearts. There's nothing quite as heart opening as discussing our existence and our mortality. So whatever nervousness you have now about this topic, I welcome it. And my sense is it'll be melting away and be replaced by a sense of awe and gratitude, as that's my experience of what discussing death does to us. It rattles some amount of ease and truth in our beings. Okay. I'm going to share my screen with you. Okay. All right, I'm going to start with a little poem, get us in space, and one of my favorite poets on death. Poets by their nature are really contemplating life and death. That's the nature of poetry. We dip into the causal plane. We sort of dip into the world of form and not form. And Rilke was one of the best. Rilke, Rainer Maria Rilke, German poet, wrote probably the most prolifically for me and sweetly about death. So here's what he has to say. Life's other half. I'm not saying that we should love death, but rather that we should love life so generously, without picking and choosing, that we automatically include it, life's other half, in our love. This is what actually happens in the great expansiveness of love, which cannot be stopped or constricted. It is only because we exclude it that death becomes more and more foreign to us, and ultimately our enemy. It is conceivable that death is infinitely closer to us than life itself. Yet what do we know of it? So we're about to embark on a journey together, and I had sent you an email with things to prepare, and one of those things to prepare was intentions. And I'd love to have everybody speak in their name into the circle as well as an intention. And if you're literate with Zoom and you feel up for it, I would love for you to actually type your intention or intentions in the chat box at some point today, because I'd like to save them. I'd like to have a list of them and see where folks are with their intentions. So if you're literate with that, if not, you can email it to me, or I'll go back to the recording and listen. But when anybody's ready, I'm going to stop sharing the screen for the moment, and so we can see each other on the same screen. If you're willing to unmute and speak into the space, your name and your intention for this 6-week course. And I think maybe I'll just call on folks so it's easier. Why don't we do Susan and then Brenda?
Sure. Susan, and you want name and intention, right?
Yes, please.
Okay. My intention is to spend as much time as I need to spend this year to finish my end of life paperwork and planning and do all my Swedish death cleaning and the whole thing to free me up to actually enjoy my life more at the end of this year.
Wonderful. Beautiful intention. Thank you so much. Brenda and then Tracy.
Hi, my name is Brenda. I'm in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and I would like to update my end of life paperwork and reconsider what happens to my body after death, looking at other options. And then I would also like to expand my spiritual practices associated with death preparation. I think that's where I'm at.
Beautiful. Thank you, Brenda. Tracy and then Linda.
Hi, my name is Tracy. My intentions too are just understanding better what is necessary for planning and paperwork for my mom. She's in assisted living and she has dementia. And also just navigating that, because assisted living is not a natural place to be, and it also works well for my mom. So navigating all of that, making sure that her wishes are understood clearly and carried out. And then also just for myself, like I have been a caregiver. I don't even think of myself very often. So, I'm 51. It's probably a good time to do this, but I hadn't considered it until I realized I was thinking all about my mom. So that's my two intentions.
Thank you so much, Tracy. And you'll hear me say this, but when anybody reaches out to me to say like, hey, I want to help a loved one that's dying or, declining, and my response is always, well, get your own paperwork in order. It's the thing to do, get your own contemplation going. And because that only from that place can we then be informed and really aligned. So I think you're doing absolutely right, Tracy. Okay, Linda and then Denise.
I'm Linda. I'm located in rural Southeast Michigan, and my intentions are to play with this transformative process by naming it. I think in naming it, you also dance with it. And I think also that whatever I give attention to grows. And so I also am looking forward to finally tackling paperwork that has to be done, purging that has to be done, but playfully engaging with this whole process and with all of you.
I love the playful. Thank you for bringing that energy. That's beautiful. Denise and then Misha.
My name's Denise, and my husband Weasel and I are both doing these preparations ourselves together, because we're getting near the end. I'm like 76 and he's up 86, so here we go. We're doing a good job so far, but I've learned how important it all is to be prepared ahead of the time. My sister recently had a death in her family that they did prepare way ahead, which I thought was kind of silly, that because she was doing like a regular traditional type, burial with the coffin and the cemetery and inviting people and having a lot of different events. And I thought, that's so ridiculous. But afterwards, she was so happy that she was prepared. And I thought, well, just because I think we're doing something simple doesn't mean we don't need to do a lot of preparation, because we really do. When something happens, I don't want to have to think about, oh, now who do I call? What do I do next? So that's important to us right now. And learning as much as I can, because I do all the paperwork and reading and stuff like that. So, yeah.
Wonderful. Thanks, Denise.
Thank you.
Misha and then Carla. You're muted, sweetheart.
Yeah. Well, I muted myself.
Misha, you're still muted. You're on your phone. Yeah, it's a little bit harder to find the unmute button when you're on your phone. It's true. But if you go to the main screen and tip it, it's down on the left corner. Well, let's do Carla and we'll come back to you, Misha. So Carla, what are your intentions?
Hi, I'm Carla, and I'm visiting extended family in northern Colorado right now. And my intention is to use all the new information that I saw in this course, as well as the interactive elements, to help me make the best choices for me for that paperwork, and also to finally complete it so that if something happens to me where I'm still alive but not able to speak for myself, it'll be crystal clear to my loved ones what I wish to have done.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. How you doing, Misha? Still figuring it out? Okay, wait, we'll come back to you. Let's do Karen and then Michael.
I'm Karen Elliott, and I am currently in Oregon, but I'll be on the East Coast soon. My intentions are to finish the paperwork before the end of the class. I know that's not overly original, but I have been talking with Lee about this class for years, and I always thought that I was totally fine with death. My daughters know my wishes, although they aren't written down. And so that's a problem. So that's why I have this finish the paperwork is so important. But last night, I had a lot of dreams about death and dying. And so my next intention is to learn what I don't know about death and dying. And although that sounds like a big order, I imagine I'm someone that is totally comfortable with it and fine with it and intimate with it. Yet my dreams last night indicated that I'm not so much as I think I am. So to learn what I don't know and about the death and dying and my relationship to it.
Thank you. I love that. I just wanted to comment briefly on there are layers of mystery, right? And anytime we contemplate the mystery and we get a sense of the vastness of it, and we go from the discomfort to more comfort with the vastness of mystery, there's always another layer, right, to get comfortable with. There's always another layer to be in awe of and to be frightened of, right? So it's like life. There's peeling the onions. It's the same way. So I love hearing that, Karen. You're just hitting another level.
Yeah, I'm totally in it. That was a beautiful way to say that. Thank you.
Yes, Misha. Michael, you're next. Let's do Misha first.
Sorry about that, guys. It's been a
Okay.
minute since I've done Zoom. Yeah, so my intention is to prepare for my own departing of this world, but through learning how to help my parents prepare for it, because they're at the end. My father has 2 terminal illnesses. He's has heart disease, and he also has a rare blood cancer called myelofibrosis, and he's not long for this world. So, but every time I try to get him and my mom to talk about end of life preparations, they never want it. They just like they just go away. Like, I don't know what happens. Like, they want to talk about it.
Yeah.
And my brother was just here visiting, and I tried to get him to like engage, and he's just like, we'll just deal with it when it happens. And I'm like, I need more than that, you know? So
I love that. And, you know, it may not change where they are, but it will change where you are. And I love that. You know, you're on your journey with it. So thank you. That's a tricky place to be. Thank you for sharing that tender
You're
piece.
welcome.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Michael, and then Meg.
Hi, I'm Michael. I'm I'm in California right now. And my intention is to release myself from the shame and guilt that part of me feels about changing the trajectory of tradition. I come from a long lineage of Jewish tradition around death, and I've already planned and written, and so that part I'm doing it my way, and it's a very different way than the traditions that have been passed on and even my children want to do. So I'm like out of the trajectory. And the second part of that is I don't want to feel responsible for my family's, my children's grieving, because the Jewish people have figured out their way to take care of the mourners. And I'm not really putting my attention to that, because my attention at the end of my life is to leave on my last breath. And that's where my focus is going to be, not around the mourners and the grievers, and they can take care of themselves. So I'm really, I've lived my life, I am blessed to be an outsider from traditions, and just keeping on getting super self-love and comfortable, and being able to explore and share my perspective and feelings and understandings with other people. Thank you.
Yeah, I bet you've lived a lot of an out of the box life, Michael, and I love hearing these shares, because I think each of us can resonate with something in everyone's share. And I think one of the things we might all resonate with is like finding our way, right? Finding our way in this conscious dying experience that might be different than what we've been handed. So you represent a beautiful archetype. Thank you so much.
And I just wanted to tell everyone I'm going to go faceless now, because I'm about to go to synagogue to celebrate my grandbaby's naming, and I'll still be on earphones as usual. I'm not fully going to be present in the traditional happening, but I'll be with you also. So thank you for understanding.
Welcome to the cycle of birth and death. So beautiful. So beautiful. Thank you. I think we have Meg and then Peggy.
Thanks, Lee. Hi, everyone. I was first initiated by death when I was 14. My high school boyfriend, I was beside him when he died, and have since been called to the bedside of many beloveds, and have a strange comfort with death and with conversations around death and dying. And just recently dedicated part of my family's land here in Chapel Hill, North Carolina, to be a burial ground, and have made a commitment to learn what I can about how to support my community in that way. And this layers of the onion, or nesting metaphor, to start with myself, get my own end of life paperwork complete, and then there's like a few people around me, parents and beloved mother-in-law, who I want to also make sure that their paperwork is complete, so that we really understand their wishes. And then like the third and kind of ultimate part of that is to be able to serve my community in this way.
Well, fellow Deathwalker Meg, that's so beautiful. I look forward to hearing more. Thank you so much. Peggy, last but not least. You're muted, love.
Okay. Basically, it was kind of, and this sounds weird, and I'm sure y'all get it, but it was one time when I was leaving my house to go to Georgia, and I have a small house, and one of my bedroom windows was open, but that's it. And I see a bird flying around in my kitchen, and I go back. House is 1,200 square feet, and I go back to the bedroom, and nothing's there. And I come back to the kitchen, and the bird's gone, and I was like, "Holy shit! This is a sign for me." And I didn't have anything done, nothing. So I'm like scribbling out a will, I'm getting all my paperwork and putting my passwords down there. I make my friend come over and get my house and sign it. And I was like, let's don't do it that way. So this is, and I've got adult children. We've never had anything like this discussion. It's going to be hard. So what my goal is to have the foundation to sit down with them and say, here's the things we need to look at, because they're very strong personalities, and I want to make sure that those balance out in the process.
Great. I have some suggestions for those conversations, and I bet we all do. So this is perfectly, you're in the right place. Wonderful. Okay. Thank you, everyone. Did I miss anyone? I think I got. Okay. All right. I'm going to share some of my intentions with you. And I will be sharing these slides with you and the recording with you each week, so you will have access to everything. Another thing you can do, if you want to take a photo with your phone of a particular slide so you have it nice and handy, you can do that also. And some people may also know how to do a screenshot of their computer or their phone. So, putting your camera right up and taking it, but you will get a PDF of the slides as well. So my intentions for this workshop, I love this workshop so much. We are going to be different people at the end of 6 weeks, and we are going to be very connected to each other. That's how this goes. And I love that. I love having allies and friends and comrades in this journey towards death consciousness. And so I want to really introduce you to resources. I want to help you build comfort with this conversation. I want to encourage contemplation about death, our own first, and then others. I want to offer you inspiration. I want to demystify this process for you, which is sort of an empowerment process of like, we can do this together. I want to provide a structure so that you can start and finish paperwork if that's part of your intention. Some people take this class multiple times, and the first time in the first go around is just getting familiar, and then the next time is where they step into the paperwork. So really wanting to honor wherever your intention is. To support you with follow through, I really build this structure of this course so that there's a lot of accountability. To build community, at my core, I'm a community builder, and I love that. And I think that really powerful things can happen in community. To enhance death literacy and death positivity in general, and to cultivate more death allies in the world, to repattern how we've done this, which is not talk about it, not think about it, not read about it, not celebrate it. And I really want to move the needle on that. And then my, sort of embodied intention is to really get a lot done, but also enjoy ourselves and to be as embodied as we can, to really integrate this into our beings. So with that, I'm going to suggest we take a breath. And these pauses that I'm going to invite us into is an opportunity for us to feel our bodies, feel our feet, feel our backs where we're being supported by our chairs, our bottoms, our legs, really working with the somatic process, because we can take all this stuff into our minds, but if we slow it down and we let ourselves regulate, we can take it in much deeper. Sort of the body, mind, spirit approach. So those are my intentions. I don't think everybody got a chance to see my wonderful candle, which is now lit. If you can see it, it's a beautiful beeswax skull that my friend Anne made me that I have burning next to my computer. And I just thought you'd love to see it. Isn't it awesome? I love it. Okay, I'm going to do a little bit of an introduction on me, and then you'll hear a lot about my journey throughout these 6 weeks. But here at the front end, I'm going to tell you how I got excited about the topic of death and helping people engage more fully with death. This is my ancestor altar. And this wisdom comes from one of my mentors and teachers, Sobonfu Somé, who is now passed on into the ancestor world. She's from the Dagara tradition in Western Africa. And she really taught me and many of us about our beloved dead and our ancestors. And ancestors is a word used to describe all our beloved who have passed to the other side. Do not need to be blood related, and we do not need to be chronologically younger than them. It's anybody who's moved into the other realm is what she calls an ancestor. And it's a way of honoring and respecting those who have gone before. They're leading the way into the next chapter, and we still hold them in our hearts. And so I have an ancestor altar that I give offerings to and light candles to and speak to and really keep alive. And we use the ancestor altar in our death traditions as well, which I'm going to explain more about. But these have been my mentors. Sobonfu Somé is there on the right. She's written a bunch of books, mostly about relationship, not as much about death, but we brought her to my home in Asheville, North Carolina several times to do a grief ritual and studied with her for years. And what an incredible addition she's brought to our lives. And then these other two beautiful mentors who run a center, it's called the Center for End of Life Transitions. It's Ruth Ostrenga and Caroline Young who really held our hands in our early deaths in my eco-village, where we went through a 2-year period of time where we had 6 deaths, and we tended these beloveds before death, during the death process, after death, had home funerals and home burials. I'm going to tell you all about it. I'm going to show you slides from all of those experiences. It's been really powerful in my life. But Ruth especially really held our hand and walked us through the home funeral process. And keeping vigil, and Caroline runs a memorial sanctuary here near Asheville, North Carolina. So they have been instrumental. They're both Buddhist nuns. And then I would say my real mentors have been the dying. This is a photo of a beloved sister named Kimchi Rylander, who died in 2017, right in February. So coming up on the anniversary of her death on the 16th of February, I believe she died. And she really wanted her death to be an educational experience. So she was encouraging us to use these photos, and you'll see these photos throughout the slideshow. And yeah, I've lived in intentional community for almost 30 years. And the closest thing I had to a feeling of deep bondedness has been moving through those deaths together with other folks. Yeah, 3 of those 6 folks died at home. We had all home funerals, all home burials for them. And the evolutionary programming in us, that sort of some old ancient part of us that knew what to do, kicked in. And then we also had mentors in the process. But this photo is this death care team that had been meeting for 6 months, sort of gathered around Kimchi's body, and we tended to her body in a beautiful way for a number of hours that day before we moved her to a vigil place. And she's in this beautiful home and apartment. So I've spent much of my adult life at a place called Earth Haven Eco Village, which is a land-based intentional community that's about an hour from Asheville, North Carolina. And it's off the grid, it's rural, it's pretty rustic. And it was hard to imagine dying at this place without a flush toilet and with having to go up and down stairs. And so one of our beloved friends, Martha, moved out of her house into a small apartment so that Kimchi could move into the house and die there. And so instead of being freaked out by death, as many people don't want to buy a house if someone's died in it, it was an incredible gift of love and offering to give up her house so that the death could happen there. and be an educational opportunity and have it be accessible for everyone involved. So such a gift, such a blessing. More to come on all of that. I wanted to tell you a little bit about my death philosophy so you sort of know where I'm coming from and and the agenda that I'm pushing, which is going to be woven throughout this entire time together. And just going to take a little breath. My first death philosophy is that death is a gift. I believe it can be the biggest contribution of our lives. I believe that the evolutionary pattern in us knows how to die, just as it knows how to live. I believe that it's a gift for not only us, but for everyone involved. It's the last big contribution we will make in this life, and maybe the biggest contribution we will make, especially when we're able to receive the love and support that's around us, especially when we have some level of acceptance and maybe even some relaxation about the process. And especially when we can stay in the mystery, that liminal in-between space. That's where the gift just becomes stronger and stronger and stronger. So we're going to explore that more and more, but let's hold that as a high bar. The second death philosophy is that we are the pioneers. Our culture says that death is something to be feared and avoided. It implies in some contexts that it's even a failure. We have so little information. We have such a narrow understanding of what's possible. We have death illiteracy, death negativity, and death denial. That's the kind of culture that we're in. So this gives us an incredible opportunity and an invitation to explore new ideas, new stories, new notions, new experiences of what's possible, of humanizing death, of making sacred the process. We are at that forefront. We are at that sacred inquiry of what is possible here. Because we're coming from a canvas of negativity, we can only go up from here, right? We can only, as Linda was saying, dance with this. Well, how do we dance with this? And my third death philosophy is really a question, which is what else is possible? Can we live into the mystery in grief and in joy and in celebration with all of our humanness? What if we were to go beyond even conscious dying and look at what ecstatic dying looks like? What could that look like? What's possible there? I believe we have the built-in brain chemistry and the mechanisms and the spiritual access to make this possible. You know, it's interesting that Michael is navigating birth and death today with his grandchild and their naming ceremony, because I look to one of the foremothers in pioneering conscious and even ecstatic birth is a woman named Ina May Gaskin. Some of you may know her, who've written books in the 70s and has been a midwife on the farm in Tennessee for decades and has assisted in thousands of births. And she's taken this whole medical model of birth and flipped it on its head and has used erotic energy, ecstatic energy, expansive heart energy to have powerfully positive birth experiences. So what does that look like? What else is possible? So I invite you into those philosophies with me. Try them on. And certainly this third one, you know, if we can hold sort of an ongoing question of what else is possible, I think the sky's the limit. Okay. So next I want to do a little breakout room. And I'll tell you what I want you to do first. This is a photo of my beloved dad. This is Kimchi on the right. And her dear friend Suu Kyi on the left. They died within 3 months of each other. They were sort of non-romantic life partners and lived at Earth Haven Eco Village. I would love for you to share something about a beloved dead, and maybe how this person's death shaped your life. It could have been a positive death experience. It could have been a negative death experience. But I'm gonna send, hold on, 1, 2, 3. I think I'm gonna send you in groups of 2 and 3. So give me a second to get that together. Okay. Yeah, so sharing maybe about 5 minutes each. And I'll let you'll have to time it yourselves. How this person's death shaped your life. Any questions before we go? If you have a picture near your computer or on your phone or something, it's great to show that. This intention of this is to get comfortable talking about death and the death we've experienced in our own lives. Okay, we'll see you on the other side. All right, so I just shared the Brene Brown poem. I'll just read it again. Every single person has a story that will break your heart. And if you're paying attention, many people have a story that will bring you to your knees. Nobody rides for free. So the invitation in our 6 weeks together, here's the 3 invitations, and I will remind you of these. I'll replay some of these slides each week so that we can remember. All of us is welcome. Embracing the whole spectrum of our human experience, and to really put a fine point on that, some of us might be experiencing a recent loss. Some of us are clearly tending to loved ones who are declining and maybe even dying. Some of us are in a death process ourselves. Some of us may be disconnected and distant from all things death. And all of it is welcome. All of it. We will find a way to hold the whole breadth of human experience, because that's who we are in our wise parts. Yeah. The second invitation is to invite in reverence and mystery in whatever form that is for you. That might be a more traditional spiritual or religious path. That might be non-traditional. That might be, just pausing to feel your own heartbeat. But we're inviting reverence and mystery in with us, because this is a spiritual dialogue. And the third invitation is however you're showing up is a contribution. If your belly hurts and you need to go to the bathroom, if you need to roll around on the floor, if you need to get up and stretch, if you need to turn your camera off, all of that is absolutely welcome. Who you are in this moment is a contribution to us. So please take care of yourself. We are not going to take breaks in this 2-hour time period, because believe it or not, I've expanded this course from 8 hours to 12 hours and it's still not going to be enough. And every time I do it, I think like, oh, I need 4 more hours. Oh, my God, 1 other 10 hours. And I might actually turn it into a 6-month journey. I'd love your feedback at the end of this, and would love, once you have the experience of it, like what would you be up for? So as you need to turn your camera off, do whatever you need to do, get up, get a drink, whatever. Please take care of yourselves. That's definitely rule number 1 here. And then, yes, know that all of you is welcome. We're embracing and holding the whole structure, the whole spectrum of human experience, and we're doing it in a flavor and an atmosphere of reverence. Okay. Our structure together is 2 hours per week in class and potentially 5 to 10 hours per week on your own. The homework structure is a suggestion. Some people kind of have a little trauma response to homework, and bristle and struggle and rebel, and that's okay too. I'm going to give you things to do each week, but please know that it's your intention that you keep coming back to, right? And my structure I'm putting in place for those of you who have the intention to get somewhere with this, and some of you may not, so just ignore it. take what you want, leave the rest. And the buddy system, I'm really excited about, provides an accountability process. Someone else is counting on you. It provides, it's really foundational to this course, actually. It provides support, shared reality, helps you with courage. If you're going to go talk to a family member and you feel nervous, you're going to be randomly assigned to someone by the end of this day, unless you want to be with someone in particular. If you do want to be with someone in particular, you can chat me, ask them or chat me. We'll have a few minutes at the end to exchange telephone numbers and emails, and I would get on the buddy thing immediately. Like, talk to your buddy today if you can, this week for sure. Make at least a once a week date with them, maybe even twice a week date with them. This is just to be in the space of what's happening here and refresh yourself and your buddy on your intention. Some of the practicals that are helpful is that if you keep a folder and a notebook, you might have journaling prompts you want to keep in that notebook. You will have papers you print out. This is my notebook. It's huge. I have a big file folder. You might want to bookmark the web page of resources that I sent you on your browser or somewhere that's easily accessible for you. And I'm gonna go through that with you, actually. I'm gonna put this in the chat right now, this link. Okay, here we go. Okay, hold on a second. Here we go. Okay, so here is the link, not just to Carla, group meeting chat. Okay, here's the link. And for those of you who are savvy, you can have, the Zoom window up and a browser with the resource page, but some of you may not be that agile with the computer, and that's okay. You can look at it another time, but I'm going to go through that page with you. And then the homework is going to look like this. We're going to do it at the end of each class, which is what I'm suggesting that you do for follow-up from this week and what you might do for preparation for next week. So let me pull up the web page that I want to stop sharing and share my whole screen. A second. Okay. Juggle. Can you see the end of life resources on the screen now? Great. Okay. Wonderful. Okay, so this is a whole page of resources that I've tried to keep pretty organized, but it's a lot. So I'm going to just walk you through it. This first blue section here talks about the 3 things that, I wanted you to print out for this week, and just the basic what to do. And then I'm going to be talking about all of the stuff on this page. And this is a way to come back to this page. It's always live. You can have it far after the class is done and get links here. So there's 5 wishes. There's a copy of my addendum. There's end of life checklist. There's all kinds of forms here. I'm sorry for those of you who are not in North Carolina, you're going to have to look at these forms and then find your associated form in your state. But it gives you a framework, death certificate stuff. And then there's this whole section on disposition of body. We're going to be spending a good amount of time on that, but there's links here, financial resources, general resources. And then at the bottom, you'll see another blue section at the bottom of this screen. I'm going to be putting your video recording, your slides, and your chat every single week here. I will also email them to you, but some people want it in one. Just give me one place for the whole shebang. And that's here for those who want it in one place. But you can also get it in your email. I'm just going to try to keep you very resourced and very streamlined. Okay, any questions about any of that? Meg?
Yeah, when I click on the letter to healthcare agent, it says page not found.
Okay, great. I will take a look at that link. Thank you. Anything else you find like that, let me know.
Same with the letter to doctor or healthcare provider.
Okay, I will relink those. Thank you.
And 5 Wishes wouldn't open up.
Okay.
I just ordered one.
You know, it should have opened up in your email.
I got it to open up both places on the website and in my email.
Yeah,
Okay.
I got the 5 Wishes to open as well. It's opened immediately for me. Not sure what's going on there, Peggy. But yeah, out of date links, let me know. I'll fix them. Some of these things you might have no business, you don't want to futz with at all. That's fine. It's just a whole huge list of resources, and hopefully it's not too overwhelming. Any other questions about that? Okay. This is a quote, a poem from David White. He's a modern poet. If you don't know him, check him out. He's amazing. Sometimes it takes darkness and the sweet confinement of your aloneness to learn that anything or anyone that does not bring you alive is too small for you. Sometimes it takes darkness and the sweet confinement of your aloneness to learn anything or anyone that does not bring you alive is too small for you. Thank you, David White. All right, so we have an hour. All of that we just did is overview. So give yourself some celebration and appreciation. And we got through a huge foundational piece. I will be repeating some of that, but bravo. And now today we're going to work on 2 things. We're going to work on the checklist and we're going to work on Wish 1. Okay. This is the checklist, and for those of you who were able to print it out or see it in your email, I know Denise that Juniper will print out that for you, your daughter. But let's just say that this is a helpful guide. I'm gonna stop sharing for a second so I can see everyone. Some people like to get into this Word document and make it their own, futz around with it, change it. Feel free to do that. This is a basic template that I created that has next steps with a date column and some notes column. But if you'd like this to be different and you'd like it to say different things in there and you're savvy with this kind of stuff, it's a basic Word table. Just pull it into Word, pull it into open source, whatever kind of like Word-like app you have, and change it. The other option, if you're not savvy with that, is just cross stuff out and write in your own words there, or make a similar checklist on notebook paper. Like, what are you doing? And this is just again, it's a framework. It's a sort of skeleton structure to help you move along the process. Any questions on the checklist? We have on the first page, we have the next steps for Wish 1, Wish 2, 3, 4, 5. And we're going to be going through them all together. And then on page 2, we have the 5 Wishes completion section. And then after that, we have other living will documents. So there's a lot of redundancy in end-of-life paperwork, which you'll hear is a really good thing. It's important. But then you have these other ones. And then you have after death documents after that. And we're gonna be holding each other's hands through this whole process. I just want to orient you to the form. And page 3 is financial considerations, which we'll be doing an overview of, but you will really have to, go and seek your own resources for that, because I'm not a lawyer. I can't give you legal advice, but we can give you a framework to start with. And then a building death literacy section. And then we have a whole page of just lines for you to create your own tasks. I know probably that some people feel daunted by this checklist. Other people might feel supported by this checklist, some of both. Anybody have thoughts or comments they want to make about the checklist so far? Find it would be useful, Meg. Yes.
Yeah, I see that it's in PDF form, both in the email and on the website. Is there a way to share a Google Doc version, or I don't see an option to upload it as a Google Doc.
Let me see. Down checklist. Python checklist. Okay. I have it. So if you go to the web page resources, you'll see end of life to do checklist, and there is a Word version there. And you can download that Word version, and then you can try and copy it, paste it into a Google Doc. Because it's a table, I'm not exactly sure how the formatting will go, but you can give it a shot.
Okay, I see checklist for end of life tasks at the top under welcome. Are you saying that somewhere, and that's only a PDF? Are you saying that further down there's
Scroll down a little bit. Scroll down a little bit, and it says 5 wishes.
There it is.
Yep.
Got it.
Yep, you got it.
Great.
And tables are really super easy to create. So, yeah, see if it transfers.
It should.
Okay, great. Yeah, Google Docs is getting better and better. Any other questions about the checklist? Anybody have feelings of overwhelm or support or both they want to share? What?
It's Tracy. Yeah, I feel overwhelmed. It's okay, but I live in a place where I haven't lived in 20 years. I don't have a huge community here, and I've been like immersed in caregiving. So, and this is why I'm here. I don't even know where to start with like finding like resources for who would I have be my person.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess I did find there's a patient advocate who I found.
Yes, we're going to talk about that.
Okay. It's just like I don't even know where to start. Yeah,
Yes.
I don't even know where to start, but I'm just going to say that and leave it there.
I'm really glad you brought that up, because how can we be gentle with ourselves, right? Some people might be like, here I am, I'm going to do it all, and I have the time and I have the space. And other people are like, I can barely keep up with this. I'm caregiving full time. Like, can we just be really, really gentle with ourselves and then adjust our intention, right? And maybe, Tracy, what, your biggest takeaway from this workshop is like getting the information gathering, taking it in, aligning yourself, and then you're going to regroup and do some of the actual physical stuff another time. Like, that's perfectly acceptable. The question is, can we keep coming back to our intention and being gentle, really? Because this can get overwhelming, and that's part of why we have buddy system. And I don't want anyone to leave the class or feel discouraged. Just adjust your intention if you find yourself feeling overwhelmed, and just kind of more passively take it in.
Thank you.
A whole spectrum of approaches to this. I mean, this is the shoemaker's children. I have incomplete paperwork for months. Like you want to project on me that I have my paperwork complete. My partner and I are like, what are we doing with the money? Oh my God, we have to have a conversation about this. It's, it's the same. It's just, it's a struggle, which is why we're doing it together.
Thank you.
Any other thoughts?
So you're suggesting that we print out the paperwork ourselves, right? Get the Google Doc,
I think you should print out the checklist. And I think having paper copies, especially of the 5 wishes, the checklist, are helpful. Some people are super savvy with doing everything digitally, and that's fine. I find having a paper folder with the different pieces, like a physical, tangible thing is helpful for a lot of people. That's really up to you.
Okay. Yeah. And like, I can see my parents are wanting it printed out for their process, but my daughter will probably be like, just put it on the computer
Exactly.
for me, like she'll be my person. And she's like, just send me the PDF. My parents are just like, what? PDF? What's that?
Exactly. Yeah,
You
you're
know?
right. You're in the middle of these two different worldviews. And the Five Wishes website has a way that you can engage with the Five Wishes document. You type everything into it, and then you spit out a printed copy. From my understanding, it is not a vault or a depository. Like it doesn't hold on to it for you. It's not like, oh, let me send this link and the Five Wishes will tell my kids what's happening. No, it just gives you a portal to fill it out and then print it out. So that's something that, maybe your daughter or others who would rather be like, oh, let me just do it online and then it's printed. And then from there, you need to make copies of that and send it to your people.
Okay.
All right. So we're going to get started on the Five Wishes now. And I am going to have folks do some reading, as we're going to actually just go through this process. And if you don't want to read or you don't have the thing in front of you, just pass and I'll ask somebody else to read. The booklet, there are some slight variations, and I've seen like even 3 and 4 different variations of the booklet, like they update them from time to time. I have a printed out one that might even be slightly different than the PDF. I'm trying to figure out if they have a date on them. Oh, this is 2011. But more or less we can follow along. There might be a slightly different page or a slightly different thing, but let's see. Susan, would you read, please, just the front page of the Five Wishes, and then I'm going to have you read a little bit of the second page also.
Sure. Happy to do so.
Thank you.
Wait a minute. Hang on.
Get your glasses.
No, it's my light is starting to flicker there. Okay. 5 wishes. There are many things in life that are out of our hands. This 5 wishes document gives you a way to control something very important: how you are treated if you get seriously ill. It is an easy to complete form that lets you say exactly what you want. Once it is filled out and properly signed, it is valid under the laws of most states. What is 5 wishes? 5 wishes is the first living will that talks about your personal, emotional, and spiritual needs, as well as your medical wishes. It lets you choose the person you want to make healthcare decisions for you if you are not able to make them for yourself. 5 wishes lets you say exactly how you wish to be treated if you get seriously ill. It was written with the help of the American Bar Association's Commission on Law and Aging and the nation's leading experts in end-of-life care. It is also easy to use. All you have to do is check a box, circle a direction, or write a few sentences. How 5 wishes can help you and your family. It lets you talk with your family, friends, and doctor about how you want to be treated if you become seriously ill. Your family members will not have to guess what you want. It protects them if you become seriously ill because they won't have to make hard choices without knowing your wishes. You can know what your mom, dad, spouse, or friend wants. You can be there for them when they need you most. You will understand what they really want. How 5 wishes began. For 12 years, John Towey worked closely with Mother Teresa, and for 1 year, he lived in a hospice she ran in Washington, D.C. Inspired by this firsthand experience, Mr. Towey sought a way for patients and their families to plan ahead, and to cope with serious illness. The result is 5 wishes, and the response to it has been overwhelming. It has been featured on CNN and NBC's Today Show and in the pages of Time and Money magazines. Newspapers have called 5 Wishes the first living will with a heart and soul. Today, 5 Wishes is available in 23 languages.
Right. You are a fabulous reader, Susan. Why don't you stop there? That's wonderful. Thank you. I'm just going to flip back really quickly to the cover page and just read what these 5 wishes are. So wish 1 is the person I want to make care decisions for me when I cannot. 2 is the kind of medical treatment I want or don't want. 3 is how comfortable I want to be. 4, how I want people to treat me. And 5, what I want my loved ones to know. So I will just say here that we're going to go through what end of life directives, what all these different words mean. But this is a very accessible template for the average person to not get overwhelmed legally with all kinds of forms and words and legal. It's very accessible, which is why I love it so much. And it's a really sweet entry point for people to start thinking about this and break it down into structure. There might be some things in this template that you don't resonate with. They encourage you to cross anything out that you don't. I have an addendum to the 5 wishes, which I'm going to share with you, which can help you give a lot more detail. This is a place to start. It's a place to start, and we will adjust as needed. Okay. Linda, would you please read? It's page 3 for me, and the top part is who should use, and then the bottom part is how do I change? We don't have to read all the states in the middle.
Did you say Brenda?
I said Linda, but
Oh, Linda. Okay.
There we go. Who should use 5 wishes? 5 wishes is for anyone 18 or older. Married, single, parents, adult children, and friends. Over 13 million Americans have already used it. Because it works so well, lawyers, doctors, hospitals, and hospices, faith communities, employers, and retiree groups are handing out this document. And then it gives you 5 wishes states, and there's 42 states listed, including the District of Columbia. You can use the 5 wishes and have the peace of mind to know that it substantially meets your state's requirement under the law. If your state is not one of the 42 listed above, 5 wishes does not meet the technical requirements in the statutes of your state. So some doctors in your state may be reluctant to honor 5 wishes. However, many people from states not on this list do complete 5 wishes along with their state's legal forms. They find that 5 wishes helps them express all that they want and provides a helpful guide to family members, friends, caregivers, and doctors. Most doctors and healthcare professionals know they need to listen to your wishes no matter how you express them.
Okay, yeah, I'm going to stop you there for a second. If you're not already sort of demoralized by the allopathic medical model, you probably will become more so when we talk about this, because it's tricky how doctors or hospitals or institutions recognize or don't recognize forms. And that's why we need to do a lot of redundancy, because other institutions have other forms, but this is where we're going to start. And this is what we're going to use for our family and ourselves and our guidance. And then if other systems and other institutions need other things, we'll easily be able to do their forms because we've already done this. So we talk a lot about this. And if your state is not listed on here, it's okay. This is still a really great framework for us to use. So thank you for letting me say that, Linda, and go ahead and read that last section at the bottom.
How do I change to 5 wishes? If you may already have a living will or a durable power of attorney for health care. If you want to use 5 wishes instead, all you need to do is fill out and sign a new 5 wishes as directed. As soon as you sign it, it takes away any advance directive you had before. To make sure the right form is used, please do the following. 1, destroy all copies of your old living will or durable power of attorney for health care, or you can write revoked in large letters across the copy you have. Tell your lawyer if he or she helped prepare these old forms for you, and tell your healthcare agent, family members, and doctor that you have filled out a new 5 wishes. Make sure they know about your new wishes.
Wonderful. Thank you. Hold on for a second. I'm going to do this quick slide to give you some background and overview here, which is there are 3 categories, what I think of as 3 categories of end-of-life paperwork. 3 categories for our needs. The first category is this first column, which I'm calling living healthcare. You will hear words like living will, advanced care, advanced life directives. You will hear what they just used, which is power of attorney for healthcare, healthcare power of attorney, healthcare agent, the 5 wishes document. And they're all pointing to the same thing, no matter what words they use. They're pointing to, if you're still alive, but you cannot make decisions for yourself, who is guiding that care? Okay, so all of those phrases are interchangeable, more or less. There's different details with different forms, but that's basically what they're trying to get at with wish 1 and wish 2, which is who is taking care of these decisions? And then underneath that, I have these specific do not resuscitate in most documents, which is also part of like, what do I want done to my being while I'm still alive, right? The healthcare agent, they call that the healthcare agent, also called the healthcare power of attorney. So that's that category of paperwork. We're going to be spending a lot of time on that. Then there's this second column, which is after death. What do you want to happen to your body once you're no longer inhabiting it? Once your spirit has passed, what happens to your body, right? That's the second category of paperwork. We're also going to be spending a good amount of time on that. And then the third category of paperwork is, what do you want done with your stuff? Your money, your assets, your household things, right? So 3 categories of paperwork. And we're starting here at the first category. Okay, now let's go back. I will show you that slide again. Repetition is good with this stuff. So let's go back to, for me, it's page 4. And Brenda, why don't you take a turn? And why don't you read that sort of first top area? Why don't you read sort of the whole page of page 4, wish 1.
The person I want to make healthcare decisions for me when I can't make them for myself. If I am no longer able to make my own healthcare decisions, this form names the person I choose to make these choices for me. This person will be my healthcare agent, or other term that may be used in my state, such as proxy, representative, or surrogate. This person will make my healthcare choices if both of these things happen. 1, my attending or treating doctor finds I am no longer able to make healthcare choices, and 2, another healthcare professional agrees that this is true. If my state has a different way of finding that I am not able to make healthcare choices, then my state's way should be followed. And then there's a place to put down your first and second choice.
And third. The first, second, and third is what I have on my form.
Oh, and third, I saw that on the right. Yes, and third. Picking the right person to be your healthcare agent. Choose someone who knows you very well, cares about you, and who can make difficult decisions. A spouse or family member may not be the best choice because they are too emotionally involved. Sometimes they are the best choice. You know best. Choose someone who is able to stand up for you so that your wishes are followed. Also, choose someone who is likely to be nearby so that they can help when you need them. Whether you choose a spouse, family member, or friend as your healthcare agent, make sure you talk about these wishes and be sure that this person agrees to respect and follow your wishes. Your healthcare agent should be at least 18 years or older, in Colorado 21 years or older, and should not be your healthcare provider, including the owner or operator of a health or residential or community care facility serving you, an employee or spouse of an employee of your healthcare provider, or serving as an agent or proxy for 10 or more people, unless he or she is your spouse or close relative.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Brenda. Okay.
Sure.
One last page for reading today, page 5. Peggy, are you up for reading?
For some reason, I've lost the page, this 5 wishes slide.
Okay. Oh, the slide. Yeah, I didn't have it shared anymore, but it's probably a little bit tricky to read from the from the screen. So when
Right,
you
right, because I couldn't do that either. So
let me have somebody else read, and I will share this again. Putting up page so you can at least follow along. Karen, are you up for reading? Yep, page 5.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah. I understand that my healthcare agent can make healthcare decisions for me. I want my agent to be able to do the following. Please cross out anything you don't want your agent to do that is listed below. Make choices for me about my medical care or services, like tests, medicine, or surgery. This care or service could be to find out what my health problem is or how to treat it. It can also include care to keep me alive. If the treatment or care has already been started, my healthcare agent can keep it going or have it stopped. Excuse me. Interpret any instructions I have given in this form or given in other discussions according to my healthcare agent's understanding of my wishes and values. Consent to admission to an assisted living facility, hospital, hospice, or nursing home for me. My healthcare agent can hire any kind of healthcare worker I may need to help me or take care of me. My agent may also fire a healthcare worker if needed. Make the decision to request, take away, or not give medical treatments, including artificially provided food and water and any other treatments to keep me alive. See and approve release of my medical records and personal files. If I need to sign my name to get any of these files, my healthcare agent can sign it for me. Move me to another state to get the care I need or to carry out my wishes. Authorize or refuse to authorize any medication or procedure needed to help with pain. Take any legal action needed to carry out my wishes. Donate usable organs or tissues of mine as allowed by law. Apply for Medicare, Medicaid, or other programs or insurance benefits for me. My healthcare agent can see my personal files, like bank records, to find out what is needed to fill out these forms. Listed below are any changes, additions, or limitations on my healthcare agent's powers.
Great.
The whole lines, yeah.
That's okay. If changing your mind is the same thing, you destroy copies or write revoked. It's the same thing as before. Thank you, Karen.
Mhm.
All right. So this is a big decision. This is often opens up a whole can of worms for people, the healthcare agent conversation, for so many, many reasons. One, as Peggy said earlier, we haven't had these discussions often with our kids or our spouse or our parents or our friends. We haven't really had that conversation. And so it starts the ball rolling to sort of start to have these conversations and to work through feelings that are there. As you can imagine, choosing a healthcare agent is complex. There's a lot of variables. And I have put a list together of the things that I think are sort of the most important characteristics. And you may have some of these that you think about also. You can take a screenshot of this, or it will be in the slides. You know, the characteristics are pretty broad ranging. Like, they have to be available and willing to play this role. Huge, right? They have to be familiar enough to you and your family so that you can know and trust them. There's big geographic considerations. What if someone lives across the country and the variables of how we're going to decline and die are endless, right? It could be an immediate acute thing. It could be a long dragged out thing. We just don't know. This one is a huge one, the ability to be fierce with medical institutions. For any of you who've been engaged in this kind of stuff, you might know that folks have their wishes and the medical institutions have their agendas. Their agenda is to keep you alive. They might go against your wishes unless there's someone very fierce there saying, no, this person does not want those invasive procedures, or only this procedure, but not that procedure. You have to be really on top of it with the medical institutions oftentimes. I know some of you who've been caregivers understand this. It's a struggle. From my perspective, they need to have some comfort with the death and dying process. They need to have the capacity to make some decisions. They need to be potentially literate with medical issues to some extent, at least literate about what's been happening for us, in our health process. I put down here the ability to hold the process as sacred and who understands my priorities. So you can start to see that this is a pretty significant list. And how does any one person really touch all of those places, right? We do have 3 choices for healthcare agents: first choice, second choice, third choice. And I'm going to introduce you to a couple of other options. Tracy named one of these, and this is my dear, dear friend, Karen Saunders, and I can put her link in. She is an educator. She's a patient advocate. She's a 40-year nurse, RN, and she teaches patient advocacy to nurses. So she runs a whole school that, that helps nurses become patient advocates. And what a patient advocate does is help you navigate the sort of prickly healthcare system and how to take your power back, right? She knows all the ins and outs of end of life stuff. She knows all the ins and outs of palliative care, right? She wants people to become informed consumers, right? And to know their rights. And this is the kind of person that, if Tracy, you had said, like, I don't have community here, this is the kind of person where you hire a patient advocate, you tell them, listen, these are all my wishes. I'm not sick now, or I'm not dying now, but can we have a once a year check-in with each other, and you be my person at that time when I'm declining or I'm dying, and then if you go before me, I'll find a different patient advocate. But that someone is there that's cool under pressure, that can respect where you're coming from, that's professional duty to know what you want, can be that public face. And I even love the patient advocate. Even if you do have community or a spouse or children, I love that interface between the family and the institution. I'm going to put her link here in the chat for frame of reference. Not everyone is, again, is in North Carolina, but, you know, she probably does consults on the phone of even what to look for. I used to have her on this. I used to bring her into the end of life class as a guest speaker, and she has a lot of information. She talks a lot about having that we have the worst nursing shortage in decades, that we have nurses leaving they're overworked, dysfunctional hospital systems, especially being taken over by corporate ownership, that the care manager or the case manager changes a lot. So if you have an advocate that is there for you, that can see through all of that, they can ask questions from the institutions. They can translate that to your loved ones. They can encourage you to find your way as, you know, as the sort of family patient, healthcare agent. She talks about, again, about finding a patient advocate. You can search online, and then you want to ask them some questions. I love these questions. I'm going to put these in the chat also. You know, how many years experience do they have? What are their prices and fees? How much education? What are their values? Can they be aligned with your particular end of life wishes? She works with a sliding scale, and she talks about donations, how like she works with some rural poor folk, and she, you know, just takes a chicken in trade or something. Like she's really, you know, this is so important to her to make sure people get represented. It's an emergent field, patient advocacy. It's a bit of a wild, wild west. It's not regulated. It's not certified. So what that means is we need to do our own homework and ask questions. Here's some questions she advised to ask. So I love this as an emerging piece. What else does she want to say about this? So what a patient advocate would do is review your medical records, review your end of life wishes, help you, you know, ask the right questions to your doctors or caregivers, help you understand any treatments or tests or medications or recommendations for surgery, translate all of this for you, right? Another example is, you know, someone's in the hospital. She gave this example. Someone's in the hospital and like calling the call button for hours at a time, and the hospital is so understaffed, and then the patient advocate comes in and says, this is unacceptable. What's happening here? How do we get this? How do we change this system? You know, so someone who knows the ins and outs of that system standing up for good, solid care. They can often go to your doctor's appointments with you. They can visit you or family members in a hospital, talk with physicians, assisting patients and families, finding holistic or complementary care providers, educate your family, discussing medical errors. She talks about that a lot. Like there's so many medical errors that go on because these systems are so stressed. And then what to do about that. So having someone like this on your side, I love this. Love this. So that's one approach. I also wanted to give another approach, which is a more grassroots perspective, which is I have created a death care team several different times in my life. And this is 5 women. We get together regularly. I'm the youngest. 2 of the 5 have children. 3 of us don't have children. We meet regularly. We've done psychedelics together. We've done retreats together. We have talked all about our end of life stuff together. We've played the Go Wish game together, and with the intention of we are going to see each other through at end of life, and we will be there for each other. And so when one of us puts us down as the healthcare agent on the form, we know that we have this whole team to work with. to help make decisions together. So those are a couple of options when approaching this. And I want to leave a little time to talk about this healthcare agent. But there's out of the box ways to think about this rather than here's my first choice, here's my second choice, here's my third choice, and all the responsibility goes on that person. Thoughts so far on all of this, Meg?
I have a question, which is the healthcare power of attorney, healthcare agent, and healthcare proxy, are all those basically the same thing? Okay. Are there any other titles that people call that same thing? 'Cause
I know, it's crazy. There's also a power of attorney that is different, which is a financial power of attorney, which is someone who has access to all your financial stuff, can write a check, can help navigate your finances when you're not able to. It's also called power of attorney. Durable power of attorney. Often it's
Right. So what does durable mean?
I don't know.
Why did I put that in? Is there a non-durable one?
Yeah, I mean, what you want to look for is the word healthcare agent or healthcare power of attorney.
Okay.
They often are the same person, but not always. But yes, you can use proxy, representative, surrogate, power of attorney, healthcare power of attorney. Basically, this, and I like how Five Wishes calls it healthcare agent, which is who is stepping up to make these decisions.
Yeah.
Who is my ally? And you can imagine that you would need to have conversations with this person. Karen.
I see Carla has her hand raised too, but just a quick question. If you have a healthcare team, how do you list that in your number one? Do you say I have a healthcare team and these are the people?
Yeah, legally, you're going to have to just put one person's name in each of these lines, but just that they know that they're representing a group of people that can be supportive in this decision-making process. Like we have a whole group of people and we put each other as a healthcare agent, and then it's like, yeah, we're going to do this as a team. Carla.
Thank you. I would like to provide some financial assistance to the person that I choose. And she already offered to be my healthcare end of life decision maker. She lives in another state and she has limited resources. But when my former spouse was made financial power of attorney for his parents, he actually had to go in front of a judge, and they actually set up like an escrow account to make sure he wasn't stealing money from his parents.
Interesting.
So I'm wondering. This was in Indiana.
Yeah.
So I'm just wondering, like, if I put a financial remuneration just for her travel expenses, would that open up a whole can of worms legally?
We're going to talk about that stuff when we get to financial considerations, and there's not really a space for that in this form. This form is just to really name for these institutions who's making decisions for you. But let's bookmark that because I think that's a really good point. And you would want to let your financial power of attorney, or you'd want to put it in your will, or you'd want to make a note of that to say, I want to pay my healthcare agent for her time, for her travel, and just make that really clear. And we'll talk about where to put stuff like that. From my perspective, you just be as redundant as possible. You put it on multiple things, and you could potentially even put it on this addendum, which we're going to get to next time. So keep a bookmark on that. That's very good. Thank you, Carla. And I think just to make a point of integrity around that, to imagine how we might pay those assisting us at the end of life is really beautiful, right? A lot of families going to do this for free, but even alternative death doula folks, they're in their careers, they're death doulas for a living. And so how do we compensate and grease the sort of wheels of all of this conscious death movement that's emerging? I refer people to my end of life mentors, and I'm like, put some money aside for a stipend for them as they assist your family in this end of life stuff. So thank you, Carla, for bringing that up and for thinking of that. Tracy.
Is a death doula someone who could be a healthcare proxy?
Yes, they can. Death doulas range from, 40 years as a nurse to a 22-year-old that saw the death doula class and took it, during college or something, right? It can completely range. And, the death doulas can do everything from come and wash your dishes and make your healthcare agent some tea, or tidy up the house, or read you liturgy or something in bed, versus, someone who's really there and can act somewhat as a patient advocate, but may not have the patient advocate criteria or has gone through the training. Like there's a woman, Maggie Purnell, here in Asheville, who's a death doula, and she's a 40 or 50-year nurse. So it'd be an interview process, right? You'd look at the list of death doulas in your area. You'd say, hey, I'm looking for someone who might be willing to be a healthcare agent for me or in partnership with others. And then interview them, have conversations. That's a very good question.
Great.
And like I said, it's a bit of the wild, wild west right now. Death doulas and, patient advocates, because we haven't talked about death, because we don't have a lot of death literacy in our culture, people are confused about what these roles are and what they do. And there's not a lot of, there's not certification, which in some ways is great. It's the time before certification. Like you just find someone who's doing what you like to do, and then have a relationship with them. That's actually my preferred way of doing it, is find someone you resonate with. Meg.
Yeah, could we make a note for when we talk about this again, to talk about specifically interface between death doula and hospice?
Yeah.
If people are coming from hospice, but then there's also the death doula, how does that relationship often go? And then another thing I want to just make a note to talk about when the time is right is I'm in relationship right now with someone who is taking care of his partner in Oregon. They're there because of the Death with Dignity option. And someone on this support thread, text thread, where 20 of us are there helping or supporting how we can, said that they were able to get him set up to be a paid caregiver for her. He's her partner, but he's having to stop his job and everything. And it's not like he is a nurse, but she is on, I think, Medicaid.
Yeah,
Medicaid.
Find out about that. I'd love for you to inform us about that. That is so tricky with this home health care paid. I think it's more radical in Oregon. They're pioneering way ahead of the rest of the country, especially these right to die states. Oh my God, what a blessing this is. And there's still 100 loopholes to jump through. You have to be living there 6 months or more. You have to be of sound mind. You have to blah, 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 blah. But at least there is a little window where we can have some right to die here. And so we'll talk about that more. If you can find out more about that, I'd love to hear. That would be great.
Okay. I'll try.
And then, some of you all may have as much or more experience with hospice, but I'll just speak to this one, which is hospice loves it when people, generally speaking, when people are death literate in the room and there's a competent team there, they love it. They're happy to be as hands-off as you need them to be. They come in with their framework, they write your prescription for meds, they've got their systems down, but if they don't have to be all up in the business of this, they're happy to. A lot of hospices are private. Some are nonprofit. It really depends on the county that you're in, how busy they are. So much to say about hospice. But, death doulas are private folks usually who are doing this because they love this work. You know, they want to be midwifing people in a good way. And so really, you know, we have this beautiful list. I think it's on my resources page, which is a national list of doulas. And, you know, you can scroll down, there's pictures there, you know, there's contact information. You can scroll down, you can see who's in my area, reach out to them. I'm guessing more than likely they'd love to have a conversation with you.
Do you also have a resource list of recommended places to get trained as a death doula?
You know, I don't know. There's the Conscious Center out in Colorado. There's not that many. I don't know. I think there's 3 or 4 that I can think of, but I don't think they're on that list. But I
I
can.
might just keep hanging out with death doulas and people who are dying and learn on my own.
Well, yeah, there's that.
And Susan has her hand up.
I see you, Susan. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was the interesting question here. Like Tracy, I'm not in a place that I know extremely well. We moved, my husband and I moved from the San Francisco Bay Area in California almost 4 years ago to Bellingham, Washington, up near the Canadian border. We have no family here. We don't know anybody, you know.
Yeah.
In the first 2 years it was shut down because of the pandemic. So you know, the only people I met were people I met at the dog park, you know. So yeah, I think that you know, I'd be more interested in going you know, with somebody who's kind of professionally an advocate, you know. Even if I was still in California, I mean, that's an extremely high bar.
It is.
You know, somebody that I know and they know me and they can do all this stuff.
Totally.
And like free. I don't think anybody should have to. I mean, you know, who knows how much would be asked of them at the time. You know, it's huge.
Yeah.
And who knows what their circumstances will be at the time.
Yeah, it's a spectrum. You know, in my community, we are really about the do-it-yourself, the sort of DIY life. We wanted to do death ourselves. We loved the opportunity to learn about it and to be there with people. And people were paid every step of the way. And then when folks died, generally speaking, our death care team sort of swooped in and did it from there, and mostly as a service, but we did sort of write up all the hours that it took to do it and all the time. And, you know, really sort of was like, yeah, it's probably around $5,000, which is what a traditional burial, you know, is sort of costs. This is what it takes for the human power behind it all. And, you know, some of us are really into community and others are, like you're saying, like so there's a wide range of approaches here, and there's nothing wrong with any of them.
Is there, you know, you were saying you were talking about a death team. Could you assemble, like, you know, I have one friend up here who you know, I think actually could emotionally handle a lot of this stuff, but you know, medically, no, I don't think she could. You know. And so, you know, can I create a team with my friend and the patient advocate to be able to jointly handle all this stuff?
Perfect. That's exactly the right thinking. That's exactly the creative thinking that this takes. Absolutely.
Okay.
So, yeah, so let's talk a little bit about what I have for you to contemplate this coming week. We're going to talk about buddies next. I want you to talk with your buddy. I want you to talk with potential death care agents. Talk with your close beloveds, family, and friends. And a great way to do that is to say, hey, I'm taking this class and I have homework. And my homework is to talk to people about this. And I wonder if we can set up a phone call. What have you done for your end of life planning? Who do you imagine making decisions for you when you can't? I'm starting to think about this stuff. Would you be willing to talk this through with me? Right? I have homework. I need to do this. It's a great excuse to get your family and friends on the phone. And then contemplate the death care team, the patient advocacies, contemplate who you might want to add into those healthcare agents, integrate all this stuff. And then I have this Go Wish card game I want you to play, which I'm going to send you a link for. One practical point of just marking all the dates of these Fridays on your calendar from 10 to 12. We have 5 more weeks. We're going to probably run over a little bit today because it's so much. Let me stop this for now. I want to talk a little bit more about the healthcare agent at the end, but I do want to get the buddies. So does anybody have someone on the call that they want to be a buddy with? Did anybody text me, chat me, or should we randomly assign? Let me look.
I sent you a chat message, Lee.
Okay, great. All right. So Karen and Meg, why don't you exchange information? Oh, I see Carla. Yeah, I'm gonna put you. So how about Carla and Linda? How do you all feel about being buddies? Go ahead and exchange information. How about Peggy and Tracy? Right? Susan and Brenda. Misha and Denise. And then we've got Michael and Tessa's not here today, so Michael and Tessa can pair up. Okay, Denise, Misha, it can send you her information by chat. I'm gonna send Misha, I'm gonna send you Denise's email because she is a little bit newer to Zoom. All right, Misha. And thank you. Someone said, please don't ask me to read out loud. I love that. I love that you find your truth around that. Wonderful. And thank you for those who did volunteer to read. Some of you are very strong readers. So Misha, that's Denise's email. Great. Okay, did everybody exchanged phone numbers and information? Okay.
Peggy, I want to make sure you saw that I texted you. Okay.
Great. So get on, text each other. You are your accountability partners. Your buddy's counting on you. And this is the thing that sort of pulls us outside of our overwhelm sometimes to stay focused. It's just like my buddy's counting on me. And just being there for your buddy, encouraging, supporting. Hey, what did you put on your checklist for your completion time? How can I support you to do that? What do you need? Oh, I'm really stuck. I'm stuck with this idea of I don't want to talk to my child. I'm scared. Okay, what does that look like? So a little bit of support coaching of each other. All right, I'm gonna end with a quote, but then I'm also gonna stay on a little longer to talk a little bit more about healthcare agent if folks want to stay on. So this is a quote from David Searles. It's called, "Seeing death as the end of life is like seeing the horizon as the end of the ocean." Seeing death as the end of life is like seeing the horizon as the end of the ocean. I see you, Misha. Yeah, so thank you for being here on this first class. You can see there's a lot to contemplate this week. Be gentle with yourselves. Let your dream time inform you. I love that someone came with dreams. Karen came with dreams in her check-in. That was awesome. What are your dreams informing you? What synchronicities are happening in your life? Who are you starting to think about? What conversations are you having? You know, what kind of, could you put some real sacred time aside for this week? And like Linda said, can it be fun? How can we make it as fun as possible? Misha.
So yeah, so my mom and dad live in Charlotte, and all of their relatives are in Buffalo, New York. My brother is in California. I'm really the only one who could be. They don't have any friends, really. They have neighbors, but you know, I don't think they want neighbors being their healthcare. So I'm really the only one that could be their healthcare person, that will the power of attorney. But I would like to get her sisters involved. They both live in Buffalo, New York. So what is a good way to reach out? Like maybe even her brother who lives in Oregon. But you know, like I want to include them in this too, because personally I don't like the healthcare's, the American Medical Association at all. Like, but my mom and dad are very heavily reliant on it, and with their medications and their, you know, their illnesses. So I know she might not want me to be like, you know, making some kinds of these decisions because I don't necessarily agree with the doctors.
Oh, yeah. I appreciate your sensitivity to that nuance. That is really beautiful. Yeah. I think we probably all might have thoughts about this, but I love the idea of getting a Zoom call or a phone call with your extended family and saying, listen, I'm going through this class. You know, I'm the only one that's in the state with mom and dad. I really want some backup support, and especially around decision making when things might come up. How do you all feel about a regular phone date that I can update you with their health situation, with their preferences, with where I'm at, and we can sort of stay as connected as possible from a distance? How does that land?
That's a great idea. Yeah, definitely. We'll reach out to them this week with that advice. Yeah.
I know we're at time, so feel free to step off, y'all, but I also am here to keep talking through stuff with y'all as well. Yeah, I love your sensitivity to that, Misha. I love this, you know, if your mom is, you know, cogent enough to have the conversation. You know, I get that I'm the default here. Like I get that I make this sense. And here's
sorry, my dogs are
oh, sweetie pie.
Yeah. They've been like, okay, we've been patient with you for the past 2 hours. We want attention. All right, go out.
But yeah, I think that being frank with your mom, like I don't really trust the system. And so if they're going to prescribe certain things that I fear are going to be harmful to you or invasive or painful, like I don't want you to not get the care you need because I feel torn about these systems. I think that's a beautiful conversation, honestly. And I don't know if mom can navigate that. But maybe having someone else on the team that is more comfortable with those systems. And so there's a negotiation, but hopefully that's not too stressful. Like these are great questions. Anybody else have thoughts on that particular conundrum? Where you're a healthcare agent and you don't really love the system that your person is more comfortable with? Tracy,
hard.
got any feedback here? I see you nodding.
Yeah, I'm really not into conventional medicine. That's part of my issue when I contacted this patient advocate. She had this whole sign-on thing and like all these things you had to fill out, which is fantastic for people who have that. Like, who's your doctor? What medications are you taking? What would you get? Like all these things. And I'm like, I don't go to those people. I don't have them because I don't use that. But I'm also, like I said, in this new place. But I think also what struck me about this conversation too is just, dealing with families, like my dad's situation with his wife and me and my sister, none of us were on the same page.
Yeah.
My mom and me and my sister, like, how do we all navigate that, and who advocates, and it should be about the person.
Yes.
Dealing with someone who's a little bit cognitively, working her way away from thinking too much, like all of that. So I don't have answers. I really feel that like it's really wonderful to be caring for someone who I'm so aligned with in our values and views on this, and having someone in my family who we love so much, who loves us so much, who's a little bit different, makes it really hard. Even just filling out these forms,
I love that. I mean, I love the question that you both are bringing up. And, it's either, to me, it's a spectrum, like what Tracy's saying, when you're aligned, not that death or decline or illness is easy, but it's easier. And then when you're not so aligned, then you're having to practice your super duper spiritual skills of putting your own preferences aside and, centering the preferences of your beloved who you may not agree with. Like that is some advanced work right there. That is some advanced spiritual work.
And then sometimes dealing with people who aren't spiritual, like that makes it a bigger thing to. Anyway, there are so many ways in which every individual can be so different, even when everyone wants the same thing and everyone cares and loves and thinks they're on the same page. It's just, you really can see the nuance.
Right. And I was referring more to the internal spiritual practice of being a warrior, in that like putting my preferences aside in order to tend for a loved one that I might not agree with. Like that is some spiritual warrior work. That is going to take some meditation and some centering and some focusing. Like that's going to be a harder road. And to not really do that externally, to really externally be like, okay, my person that I'm caring for wants all this and this and this done. And I don't agree, but that's not my choice to make. So, that's a project.
And that's also like, that's what it says on the 5 wishes. It may not be family or a close friend. Like maybe it's not right to have someone who's not aligned.
Right. Yes. Sometimes people say that the spouse might not be a good choice because they're going to be feeling their own feelings and grieving and having their own fears and having their own process. They might not be the best healthcare agent. You obviously, whoever your healthcare agent is, needs to be inclusive of the spouse, needs to be, working with the spouse, obviously, but the spouse may not want to be the end all decision-making person because they may want to be supported to be in their own process. So, this is really dependent on the personality and so many variables. Carla, yes, I'd love to hear from others.
Could you describe a little what the deaf team is that you're involved with? Is it a support group for yourself?
Yeah.
Is it
the 5 of us? the five of us at the time were all single when we got together, single women, and we thought, oh, let's just support each other at the end of life. And we just are close friends, and we reviewed all our paperwork and done all our paperwork together. And we get together once a month and watch a death related movie, or have an outing, or go on retreat, or like I said, we've done the psychedelic experience together where we practicing this idea of death, where we have these conversations, we host death events. And so the idea is that we're building a bond together so that as one of us goes through, and hopefully that we will space it out and it won't all happen at the same time, but we'll be there for each other. That's the goal. Yeah. Susan.
I would really like a list of the death-related movies that you've been watching. You think you could give us that list?
I do have a list somewhere. I need to pull, it's from varying places and I need to pull it all together, but sure, I'll work on it. I'll make myself a note.
Thank you.
Yeah. Other thoughts, y'all? Denise, how you holding in there? Your first suit. You got to unmute, love. This is Denise's first Zoom meeting ever. She got to find her unmute button.
If you're on your phone, are you on your phone? Is she on her phone or her computer?
Oh, she's on her computer. You got to go to the Zoom screen, love, and then down in the left.
I'm just going to say, when you're on your phone.
Yay! I found my button. Yes. When this thing with our buddy, Misha's going to be my buddy, and we've exchanged. I put my phone number there, and she put her phone number.
Yeah.
Do we have any specific things we're going to be talking about, you think, or just?
You're going to be supporting each other through this whole 6 weeks. So this would be supporting each other on this week's homework, which is like integrating from this class and like, hey, who are you thinking about for your healthcare agents? How's that all living for you? What are your feelings about all of that? Are you going to have conversations with your family? So supportive, mutually accountable people. Yeah.
Yes.
To keep you on track.
A week of conversations.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm glad you did great, Denise. You did great on your first Zoom meeting.
Yeah, sometimes I move the screen around. I just had to slide the screen over. It was just the mute button just went off the screen.
Jennifer will be so happy that you did great.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you.
Anything else, y'all? Any other last thoughts about healthcare agent, or what to do this week, or what you're thinking about?
I do have just a logistics question. If we need to get a hold of you between classes, how would you like to be contacted?
Email me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Really good questions. I'm hoping, next week we'll have a little more time for discussion because there won't be as much intro stuff. But this is sort of what happens in the group, is the brilliance and the genius of everyone here sort of starts to come to the surface, and then individual questions and experiences, and different people have thoughts. It just becomes this wealth of sharing and information. It's really beautiful because, the truth is none of us are experts at death because none of us have done it yet. And we're all just, finding our way with our life experience. So
I think it's kind of exciting.
It's the next adventure, right? All right, y'all. So much love, and we'll see you in a week, and I'll be sending out an email recording and all that.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.